Hello and welcome everyone to the webinar about 5G and its potential to disrupt the video industry. My name is Dovile Tripkevičiūtė, and today we will have an interesting discussion with our guest speakers. So we have Blen Legovic, Head of Business Development and Innovation at Accedo.
Hi.
And Thierry Fautier, VP Video Strategy at Harmonic. So before we start our conversation, let's review the latest and greatest about 5G. It's definitely getting a lot of attention nowadays, from the ban of Huawei technologies in the US and in the UK, to the US administration cleaning up its mid-band frequency spectrum used by governmental agencies to enable private usage. We know that major telcos have doubled down on the 5G investment pre-COVID, and will likely continue to do so. Acquisition of 5G-enabled devices is increasing, and Ericsson has just increased their estimate on the number of 5G subscriptions. Now the company forecasts about 190 million of subscriptions by the end of this year. Operator in Denmark just announced that its 5G network will be open for business in September. So there is a lot of noise, a lot of attention around 5G, and I think all of us will agree that it's coming. And of course, users are getting to know about 5G. But the question here is, do we have use cases that are beneficial for them? As tech providers, both Harmonic and Accedo have been preparing for 5G, that 5G is coming in, defining ways to facilitate its adoption from a tech perspective. But what about the users? How do we transcribe this new bandwidth opportunity into concrete use cases, making this invisible 5G becoming visible and beneficial for user? And should the use cases be global, or there is a local flavor to it? Those questions will drive our panel discussions. One funny fact to add that Inigo Ordona, Accedo's expert in user experience, unfortunately couldn't join the panel as it was planned and announced due to network issues. So we have the first use case on the table, how 5G could facilitate a life of users, at least for those who are participating in virtual panels as we are doing today. So let's start our conversation maybe with the first warming up question. Can you introduce yourself and tell us how your respective companies are involved in 5G?
Okay, maybe I will start as a guest. I'm Thierry Fautier, Vice President of Video Strategy at Harmonic. And as you know, Harmonic has been powering all the revolutions from analog to digital, from SD to HD, from HD to UHD, from broadcast to OTT. And therefore, we are also ready to take on the challenge of 5G. So for us, 5G, first of all, we started with mobile video in 4G, and we saw a lot of good deployments of SD. Unfortunately, you know, in US, you have those infamous 0 rating, which forces basically content provider to limit their bandwidth to SD resolution 1.5 megabits per second. And this creates a good traction in terms of volume, but the quality and the experience is obviously limited. If you say, can I watch multiple games? People say, no, it's not possible. Can I watch HD? Say, you have to pay for it. So 4G was a good start, but not sufficient. And what we see in 5G is virtually unlimited bandwidth. Of course, when you talk to operators, they say every bit counts, and therefore they ask you to compress in a better way, to give them the better network management system, the better caching in the network. So this is something we can always work on. But for us, 5G is going to bring three things. First is going to bring the scalability. You will be able to deliver video in a stadium, which is absolutely impossible today. Second is going to give you the video experience, at least in HD resolution, and why not in 4K? Why we don't see 4K is just because the last 3 Galaxy of Samsung were still the same resolution. It's expensive to increase the screen resolution. And third, we are going to see immersive application. And when we talk about immersive, we talk about virtual reality. We talk about AR overlay, but we talk about also things like video point cloud, where you are capturing in volumetric capture a person. And then you can see this person in 3D. It can be a singer, can be an actor, can be any important sports player. And this is absolutely not possible in 4G. And operators, I think, will have the opportunity to exploit those new technologies.
Great. We will definitely touch the bases on virtual reality and holograms and scalability. Bluan, can you please mention what is Accedo's role in 5G and how Accedo is working with 5G?
Yeah, so Bluan Le Goffik, I'm heading business development and innovation team at Accedo. And my team, well, I'm not a technical expert of 5G for sure, as you are, Thierry, but I'm more looking into the business case triggered by the 5G opportunity, and especially looking at the user experience, right? Accedo has been helping leaders in service providers globally in delivering and growing video services. And our DNA is from the user, right? We are at the origin a UX company. We are focusing on how do we make sure that the video experience is at its best, taking into account the video technology context it is in, but also working on what's next, right? How do we define new video experience, and as Harmonic, not for that long maybe, but for since 15 years now, Accedo has been looking into creating new use cases on the video. So in 2017, for example, we launched with Dutch Telecom a VR live service, and I'll talk a bit about this and this journey of Dutch Telecom in getting prepared to embrace and new video experience by step by step adding knowledge and skill sets and providers in different aspects, right? The infrastructure, the content, the monetization bit, and innovating as part of their product strategy. So I think Accedo involvement in 5G is in two ways. One is to ensure that there is, while there will be, of course, a video quality capacity, right? But there are a lot of use cases associated with latency as well that 5G can enable. And this is where social aspect of video is kicking in, which is fairly impossible today, right? We start to see some social aspects, but they are not to the point where you would have a seamless connection between people in a video context. So I can imagine that our role is to test on with our customers and with our partners new video use cases, but it's also about making sure that there is a way to learn from the user base of our customers, right? You talked about local flavors. I think this is key to what we have been doing as a global company, is to look into what's actually the need to retain your user base and engage and retain your user base. There are different video consumers around the world. Not everyone is consuming the video content in the same way. And I think we'll talk about this, right? You can see that a lot of some countries are much more mobile friendly than some others. So all of this coming with the disruption of 5G is something that Accedo has been looking into, helping out customers defining what's their strategy.
So maybe let's start with this regional flavor. Thierry, you as an expert, which countries are on the front line in terms of 5G innovation and 5G use cases? And maybe you can give some use cases as well to mention what they are doing.
So as you know, Asia has been the first continent to move on 5G. China, Korea, Japan, the three largest countries who have already 5G in service. And for us, when we look at the market, Korea is actually the #1 in terms of launching innovative 5G services that would not be available in 4G. And this is like virtual reality. This is what we call 8K streaming to the mobile device, where you can stream 8K scene, and instead of the cut being made by the producer, it is done by the consumer. So consumer can scroll in an 8K image what he wants to see. He wants to zoom on this player, and of course he can go back in time. You have the free viewport also, where you have multiple camera, Intel style, where you can have a coverage of a complete stadium and the user can move inside the content. So this is also actually quite impressive. You have seen, not on 5G, but this was the outstanding demonstration of Canon at the Rugby World Cup in 2019, where you had live modeling, not a live capture and modeling. Unfortunately, the rendering was not in real time, but you could see a way, like in video games, to move your point of view and be able to move inside the content. And of course, it is the futuristic, but one day this will be available to consumer from their phone. They will be able to move the camera in the stadium. So for us, those are data points that make us believe 5G is the right technology to enable those new experiences. And I will give the stick to Blue N in terms of how can you really make the experience immersive from the consumer side using a 5G phone, using an AR device, that the headset that you can put on your glasses. So those are, I think, also very exciting experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I think that when we talked about local flavors, I agree with you that emerging markets have been much more eager to get on the 5G, and we've seen Asia often always nowadays on the ahead of the curve, right? But I think that there's been another sort of a different in the media sector. Another player that has been asked to accelerate things, which is the sports industry, right? So eventually, you've seen for the past years that sports industry is catching up in terms of engaging with the fans, and the COVID situation is obviously has put quite a stress on how should you engage with your fans in an offline mode. And I think that AR and VR are also things that 5G will enable to expand the video experience, the live experience, right? So talking about what you mentioned, Thierry, which I think is very important. One of the things that I've seen being a constraint that the industry has been looking at related to AR, for example, and starting innovating and experimenting on it, has been that there is no glasses, right? We all know what happened to Magic Leap and his shift in his strategy, and why there are newcomers, and there will be for sure. This is a matter of time before we have AR, VR powered headset. I do think that there is an opportunity to start working with AR, and you met with Accedo, I think, in Roland Garros last year, where we were working on a holographic video experience of a tennis game, and those are things that are today being sorted out by the ecosystem, right? So we're all connected in the video industry, from a tech perspective, from the camera to the bandwidth to the encoding to the rendering, to try to make this happening. But we also have devices that are today delivering a quite neat AR experience from and I'm talking, of course, of the certain mobile that are having this capacity of rendering really good AR experience. So while I think that best is to come for sure, and I think the AR at scale experience will not happen this year, I do think, however, that there is an opportunity for our customers to start experimenting with it. And why? Because eventually, most important thing is to understand how your users will react to the kind of video expansion strategy you have, right? So if it's about thinking about a live tournament, right, where you're going to expand your live experience with statistics or more information about the players, or immersive, you want to revisit in a replay mode the game and having going around Nadal scoring. So I think all of these things, they're all having a sort of wow effects. But what is actually working from a business standpoint? Can you start gathering data points that evaluate the retention time in those experiences? Are people actually, even though they are wowed by the concept, are they actually consuming? How do they interact with this? And all these data points need to be in place in a frictionless innovation. So how do you make sure that you can start working in putting simply AR experience almost as a plugin in your OTT service and start experimenting on this? This is where I feel that this has been a bit slow in terms of adoption. And I think it's time that operators, but not only operators, brands as well, start looking into this.
So Thierry, what would be your opinion? Do you think that that the media industry and operators are ready to innovate? And do you agree with Glenn that AR is the low-hanging fruit that 5G could help and boost cases?
I will be very honest, and I will tell you what I say to my customers. I say you have multiple flavor. You have the multi-stream, you have the virtual reality that you can consume on your mobile phone. It's called the magic window mode. You have the AR graphic overlay on top of the game. You have the AR with video, which is a video point cloud. And you have 8K streaming inside the content. And what we say to operators, we say, take our VOS platform, play with it, test it, and tell us what you think. Because I think the whole world, not related to COVID, but more the mentality of operators, they do one vertical, and if it fails, then they back up. What we want is to give them tools, because the cloud is possible. You don't need to build and buy infrastructure. You just need to rent it, especially can rent it from our company and do experiments and test. And I can tell you, depending on the sport, depending on the type of user, is it older, is it younger, is it at home, is it in the stadium, is it a hardcore fan, is it not a hardcore fan, you will find different behavior. People might be ready to pay, might be ready to engage. What we discovered recently is with the video point cloud, which is the capture, volumetric capture, the music industry is starting to use that. They record the artist, and the kids are doing clips in TikTok next to the artist. I never thought this would be possible. But now, so cheap. You go to a studio, you get a sponsor to do the recording, the star put that on an app, the kid is downloading the app, and then it's a viral share with millions of other people. And before, this was not possible. We didn't have the capacity to capture, we didn't have the technology, we didn't know how to share in a viral way. So now this is becoming possible. And I think this is a new angle that the content community, at least in the music, but I'm sure that in the movie is going to be the same, and the sport is going to come for sure. And then it will take, you know, it's like the domino effect. People say, hey, have you seen this? They show to their friends, the friends buy the phone, and then the operator discover there is a lot of traffic on this application, start to say, okay, now I understand why I need to build a 5G network. So I'm positive in terms of what will happen. It will take time, and I would say you have to do your homework, your marketing homework, which content, which demographics, which application, is it free, is it pay, is it a bundle, is it standalone? There are a lot of open topics that the marketing people need to work a bit hard in order not to make the wrong mix, but technology is here today.
A quick question for you, Thierry. Sorry, Dode, but I just felt that this triggers for me something about user-generated content. I mean, you just mentioned this. Is it not something that also is sort of an opportunity coming up with 5G, but is also going to be a challenge? I mean, eventually, user-generated content has been something from a video standpoint that has been a bit put on the side, right? Because you have to moderate, and all of this has a cost to stream and so on. But I mean, with 5G, you could guess that both the device and the network will enable very strong USGA capability. So have you, I mean, we have been in discussion of how do you make this part of the video experience. For example, there is, I think it's in the Barcelona stadium, where they have this huge wall of user-generated pictures. So people are wearing with an AR, you know, an AR filter, like an Instagram or something like this, where they are wearing the shirts of Barcelona in family, and they're sending that picture to be displayed in this big digital wall. But I mean, this should be videos, right? This should be, this will be possible. So I'm wondering if this is something that you've heard operators asking for this and this kind of new source of content.
To be very clear, today, I think the most active one in that space is the content providers. And content provider can be sports league, can be clubs, can be an artist with his manager, can be an actor who wants to promote his next movie. So it's more coming from the content people. And the operators in general are more looking at what the content people are doing before they start to invest. So, you know, there is always this question, if you don't have the right on the content as an operator, what can you do special? Probably nothing. If you look at Sky, BT, they have the content on the Premier League and they are doing magics. They are doing Watch Together today because of COVID that nobody was daring to do. I still recall my friend telling me, I want to launch a startup on Watch Together, and everybody was telling him completely useless. Now the guys, no, but just to give you an idea, we don't know what is going to happen. Yeah. And I think with 5G, what we know is there will be a lot of people connected on a high quality network with a high quality of experience. So definitely there is a way to put all that together and to monetize.
But Thierry, you mentioned that content providers are the ones who are picking up 5G and operators are waiting and checking. Why do you think that operators are not exploring 5G opportunities? Are they afraid of innovating, or what?
No, it's because you know, operators are not content people. If you take a mobile operator, in general, they just transport the bits. And of course, they are smart. So they work with some sports league or some special artists to put some special event. In the US, for example, Verizon and AT&T are doing special 5G event during special premium football matches. And they show to consumer how the technology works. They bring stars to be shot in a volumetric way, and they show that to people. But the operators in general do not have a very strong content background. Now, what's interesting, after AT&T bought Warner, you have all the Warner Media people explaining to all the AT&T people how they should do, and now you have the convergence, which didn't happen before. Now it's part of the same company. Those people are not shy. They are not asking crazy terms and conditions to start a project. It's the same company. So for sure, you can see companies like AT&T will be probably very proactive in not only producing movie, but also making immersive content and testing that on different type of content. Is it movie? Is it sports? At the end of the day, anything that will appeal to the consumers.
But there are some that are still doing a bit differently. I'm going back to Dutch Telecom. I mean, they've been investing, I think, end of last year, right, in an esport company. So then suddenly, and I think they've been looking into as well. It's not XR Space or something like this. I think it's a
yeah, they are doing also their concert, the Magenta concert.
Yeah,
for sure. No, they are doing things, but I would say, if you compare to Verizon was the NFL rights on the mobile, this is not the same scale.
I agree.
When you have the rights on NFL, sorry, when you have the rights on NFL, you know you can cover millions of people from the get-go because everybody has the app. Now you tell them, oh, by the way, you just update the app and you'll get the AR experience. That's what I call massive scale from the operator. So when the operator have the rights on content, they can do a lot of cool stuff. Look at BT, look at Sky in UK. It gives you a good idea of what they are doing. And by the way, BT is already saying that they are going to stream on 5G. They are going to stream also 8K to the TV. So they are quite innovative. Those operators, I'm telling you, they don't give up. Korea, the same. I think China is probably do the same. We don't speak Chinese, so we don't understand what's going on in China. But I'm ready to bet that China Telecom and China Unicom, all those China Mobile are all doing great things for their consumer. VR in China is quite hot. You know, there are still vans going through the very deep part of the country to show the VR experience to people. We don't know because we've never seen that in the Western world.
No, that's true. That's true. Interesting.
So you mentioned, both of you mentioned user-generated content. Personally, I have heard 5G in the context of video on the go, right? Are there any great concrete media opportunities, media use cases brought by 5G that you come across?
Yeah, I mean, I can start with this because I think you even have a more extensive list than me, Thierry. But I think that yes, eventually, I mean, we've been talking about it. So AR, XR, all of this is there, right? But there is I think also a smart home capacity, right? So there is a question of do you really need a broadband offering if you're getting a 5G data plan, and actually should 5G be the new way of getting internet within your home as well? And then suddenly it opens to, okay, so if you are adding not just the mobile experience but the smart home experience as well, the 5G and its capacity of connecting at a very low latency and with high quality, then suddenly you have a lot of more IoT use cases that will be brought, I think, to the end user. So not only there is a smart home, I mean, that's a very good fit for operators, right? Of course, but I figure that in terms of IoT use cases, that's going to be the next one. So, and I think that there is also a very clear, I read in one of the Ericsson report that I think more than a third of the users they had talked to are still suffering very much on video quality, right? So there's still a problem that needs to be addressed there, and especially in certain regions. So obviously this use case should be covered, right? But I do think that there is an expansion to smart home that's going to be very interesting.
Terry, what would be your opinion on smart home? Do you see that as an opportunity, or is it already here, or is it a bit far away in terms of 5G enablement?
Yes. So for us, where we spend most of our time today is mostly for sports application, and where we try to fix the real problem of mobile is the in-stadium experience. As you know, if you have 100,000 people who are starting to watch a video at 5 megabits per second, there's no way this can be carried to the consumer. So people today, they take pictures, they record video, and they try to send it to their friends. In my world, in my dreams, I would be able to watch the live. I will be able to see the video assisted referee feed on my phone at the stadium and see what people watch on TV. And of course, I will be able to see multiple angles. Why not virtual reality perspective, and why not AR overlays on the game? And this is getting there. We need very strong infrastructure. We need a 5G equipped network. People are also, if we talk now a bit of mobile experience, we need to talk about the infrastructure. People are saying we need to mobile edge compute at the stadium in order to reduce the delay, to have a better experience, to have a massive caching capability in the stadium. So we are working with operators on all those deep infrastructure aspects in order to enable a high quality experience at scale. If people have to remember two things of 5G beyond the immersive aspect is high quality at scale. If you can serve 100,000 people with an HD stream, I think this is going to be a revolution, because it's like black and white TV. Until you see color TV, you don't know color TV exists. And now I think in mobile experience in the stadium, I'm sad to say we're still in the black and white experience.
Interesting. And what do you think about end users, or like viewers or football, sports fans? Are they ready are they demanding better
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think until they see something, I don't think they are ready to pay. What we know is the hardcore fan will always pay. The question is, out of this population, can we expand to the broader population? And I think the first thing operators, back to your question, when operators need to convince people in the store to show them what is possible with the technology. Now, this is why you see operators pushing 5G. They show a VR application, they show AR application to the people. You need to explain to the people. Not everybody goes on YouTube and is watching those crazy high-tech channels. You need to show to people, okay, if you want to take 5G, this is what you can do. And if people say it's not good, then we have to do our homework and work harder in order to find better experience, better content, better headset, better resolution, and so forth. And that's where we are today. Operators have to do this work. And if you look at VR, one of the reasons it was not very successful is because Facebook is not a consumer company. They don't sell device to consumer. Google, they had to shut down their dream work or dream concept. I forgot the name because it's already gone, but they had to cancel their program because they didn't sell much device. So operators know how to talk to consumer. They have stores, they have budget, they have marketing teams, and I think they can do a lot of good work. And that's why we believe in 5G, because with mobile operators, we know they will be able to market it to the consumer. Of course, we need to live up to the dream. It has to be good quality, and that's what Harmonic is doing every day. When I wake up in the morning, I want to deliver the best experience to my consumers, because if it's SD on a 4K screen, I know people will not be very interested. They'll tell me I see pixels.
So end user perspective, and I think Blen, working at Accedo, at end user experience company, what would be your thoughts and takeaway? Are end users ready, or do we still need to educate them? And how content owners or how operators could do that? Isn't too early yet?
First, no, for sure, it's not too early. There has been, while we haven't reached the scale we should have reached potentially with VR, due to many reasons. This is the main problem was that the market got so excited about it from a provider perspective, tech or content or anything, that we just forget that this should take a bit of time. Of course, there is a technology piece of it, but there is also the fact that if you don't get enough content associated to a technology, then the scale cannot be reached. So I think it's a matter of yes, it is more than time we passed almost the early adoptions in terms, I think, on the concept of immersive experience. I think now it's the time to actually really make a business case out of it. So I think that from a user perspective, I have a feeling that we've been focusing a lot on the wow effect of, oh, this is so cool in terms of technology. Yeah, but it needs to provide value, right? So the live feed is providing value to the end user. So what is the next AR experience or overlays that is providing value? You have values that can be entertaining. So brand engagement and having, I remember having this kind of filters of, that's not even AR overlays, but filters of your team, of the colors of your football team during the World Cup. Okay, that's great, so that you can post a picture of you. You didn't have any makeup, but you still look like an engaged fan. Things like this are very nice and they are entertaining, but I think things can be pushed much further. And I'm especially very interested in something that we've been talking a lot, but no one seemed to think that this was time, was to monetize. And I think, to me, there is, and we're seeing that in the sports industry, but not only, there is a very important role of the brands. I'm not talking necessarily about advertising, but I'm talking about brands that are delivering content that has a much more powerful messaging capability, reaching out to scale capability, I would say, in terms of content. And I do think that partnerships between service providers and brands is something that needs to happen even more. So it doesn't necessarily mean pure advertising in terms of pre-rolls and videos and so on. It can be placement. It can be expanding your reach because you're leveraging brands around you, and vice versa. So I can imagine and will foresee that there will be even more collaboration between those two worlds. And because I do think that companies like Nike or other brands can definitely make what compelling content beside the live experience or the VOD experience. So I'm definitely more looking into that kind of short-term experience rather than very deep AR immersive experience, because I don't think, as Thierry said, right, there's still things that are being figured out in terms of real-time rendering, in terms of all of this. But I do think that this is being worked on, but there is a short-term or near-term, I would say, more compelling cases when it comes to immersive content being brought by brands.
Interesting that you mentioned monetization. Thierry, when you're talking with your customers, what are their ideas, how they would like to monetize 5G? Are they thinking around this question?
Yes, they do. But initially, there is also this startup phase where they need to demonstrate the value of the service. So they are more in the demonstration of the capability, try to attract consumer on new application. They will for sure try to leverage all the social media, and the more people know about 5G and discover the 5G benefit, the better for them. So I think they are still trying to sharpen their pencil. They have, I think, 1 or 2 years of grace period where they show to their management the take-up, the engagement, the interest of people, and then they will start to put special plans, say, hey, for this type of experience, maybe you need to spend more money, bundle with this type of content. I think this will come at the second phase. For time being, I think they need to show some compelling reason for consumer to switch to 5G. And I can tell you the downside of this is people take 5G just faster than 4G, and then the monetization is nearly gone.
Yeah, I agree with
that. It's interesting that you are focusing on augmented reality and mentioned a few use cases. And what about VR? Will 5G evoke VR? Will it refresh and start again? So what would be the use cases?
Yes, so VR, you have two use cases. First of all, we all agree that has to be a standalone device, unconnected to any kind of PC. So that's the starting point. Second, some people say VR on a headset is good at home, but on the go, especially in the sport venue, is not a good idea. So therefore, you have this magic window where you can consume the content on your headphone, on your mobile phone, and therefore you can have the VR experience not in an immersive way, but on the mobile phone. So we think this one is less intrusive for people, easier to consume even on your couch, sitting next to your family with the TV. You can have different views, you can do a different experience on your mobile device. So we think this is still a valid use case. The HMD one, we think it's initially much more for immersive experience like games. like in the airplanes, maybe to discover a museum like not everybody can go to Le Louvre in Paris. And if I give you a tour of Le Louvre, you show that to kids, poor kids, you know, in the suburbs, you show them Le Louvre, they say, wow, this is something I've never thought before. So I think we need to create the compelling content for people to really like the VR experience. If we show not too good quality, not too great experience, and this is where 5G is coming. If you tell me I only have 5 megabits per second and it's all counted on my quota, it's not going to work. I probably need 8K capture, 8K capability on the device, and this is what Harmonic is right now working with partners like Qualcomm with their infamous XR2 device, which is going to be, I believe, the next revolution from not only VR, but also AR. And we need this technology wave to come and refresh a bit. XR2 will have a 5G modem, so it will be the first HMD 8K capable with 5G modem. We think this is going to be a big revolution in 2021. Unfortunately, due to COVID, this did not really happen until now. I cannot give you all the details, but I think it's going to come soon. And once it's coming, people will have in their hands, again, consumer price. I'm not talking about the HoloLens 2 that costs $2,000. I'm talking about really cost-effective device that operators, of course, will have to subsidize, because maybe not everyone is ready to put on top of $1,000 mobile phone a $600 or $700 HMD. But I think we have the ingredients to cook.
Glenn, what would be your takeaway on VR and 5G? I know that Accedo has been working on a few VR 360 applications for some operators in Europe. Do you see a link between 5G and VR and maybe new use cases or new monetization opportunities?
Yeah, so I mean, the short answer is yes, of course. But I think it's a matter. It takes a bit of creativity. So I think that I as an operator, you have an opportunity to expand the area of reach, right? And I think that eventually being an operator in terms of content as well, while there's a lot of focus in terms of media and entertainment and sports content, I do think that you need to provide other kind of content in this VR experience. And I mean, as you mentioned, Thierry, I think education is a big thing. That if we're looking into from an ecosystem point of view, I think this is something that operators could play a big role in and could be a big differentiator. Eventually, I mean, we're talking about how can you compete adding 5G, knowing that everyone will leverage somehow sort of the same technology. You will have to differentiate your offerings based on the creative aspect of it, right? So, and I think that the purpose of those operators, the service that they deliver to the end consumer, in which content should they choose to invest in, and education is one of them. I do think that can make a huge difference. So I would be very very enthusiastic about having operators investing into bringing the type of content that is a bit outside of the usual suspects of media and entertainment. So expanding a bit the vertical approach, I think, from a content strategy. But yeah, in terms of technology, of course, this is a case, right, for VR as well. And as Thierry said, technology is following up. I'm more worried about, again, it's a matter of being compelling enough. It's not a matter of, or thank God that we have very good technology providers that can sort out the technology complexity. But eventually, if you're not making a compelling user experience, you're not going to retain anyone or acquire anyone thanks to that. And I think that's the worrisome part, right? The investment on infrastructure is huge. So this is a bit this is a bit the kind of investment worldwide that is needs to provide a lot of value for. So I do hope that media and entertainment will take a good stab at what should they do with this, and we can see that other industries have already tackled that aspect. So whatever it's health or automotive or etc. But yeah, I'm quite bullish about the opportunities of pure immersive VR.
Unfortunately, the topic is broad and opportunities are broader, but time is running out. And just to wrap up our conversation, you have mentioned different examples, different use cases. What would be your favorite one that you actually firmly believe in its success, and you think that it's coming for sure?
So my view is sports is going to be big. In-stadium experience is going to be big, and people in stadium will be interested to consume the content in a different way. My second bet is going to be the social network use of volumetric capture by artists that people are going to share and discover you can do great things with video beyond what you do we've been doing for the last 20 years with YouTube and TikTok. It's still the same 2D. So I think those two use cases are compelling, are engaging, and hopefully monetizable.
Len, what would be your best bet?
Yeah, I agree. I think likely so. Sport is going to be the near-term driver, right, of this. So I do think this is where the innovation will come. I think I'm very keen on the social aspect of things, right? The watch together is definitely something that you can expand much more on than what has been done, but which is already really good. But I do think that there are a lot more scenarios in social aspect around sports, and we've been working on that with our team, where this is all about leveraging both the ultra low latency, but as well user-generated content aspects, where around a live sport you create a community. So how do we make sure that 5G is at the service of this? So that I think is a near-term, for sure, use case, my best bet in the media and entertainment industry.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for great insights and knowledge. And for those who have some additional questions, please send your questions to marketing@accedo.tv, or you can always follow up on our social media. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.